Are you struggling to win defense rounds? If you are, there's a good chance you're losing in the prep phase. Without a strong setup, you can't have a good hold, and it's my goal to not only show you how to set up, but why it's strong too. With these solid default strats, you don't have to worry about not covering all your bases. Check out the description below for timestamps for each individual bomb site, and hey, subscribe while you're at it. So for the first set, you're going to have armory lockers and archives. So starting on the armory side, you want to reinforce the 2 armory walls. These are pretty essential walls. They're exterior walls. If there's an external wall, you want to reinforce it. In small office, you want to reinforce the wall close to the door. So from my point of view, it's the right wall. From inside small office, the left side. This allows your smoke player or whatever shotgun player you have to sit tucked inside, ready to night plant. You want to make these footholes here so that the shotgun player can contest from prone, and it's especially important if you're watching someone run through. On top of this, you want to put a shield placed slightly back like this. You can put ADSs on that left beige locker right there. Putting ADSs on that locker will prevent nades from blowing up the shield and force them to burn a lot of utility. If the wall's open, you can contest pretty well from there. Even if you want to play safer, you can just sit behind it, and you can also contest from the door. So this is one of the strongest shields in the game. Definitely on this map, it's a necessity, so make sure you always bring a shield for this site. So once you're in small office, opening up the hatch is a possibility. It's not really recommended because there's not much really stand to gain from going below. But if you want to, you could rotate down if it starts getting too scary. And again, if enemies are pushing, you can just prone, watch feet, and just spray with a shotgun or whatever gun you have. You want to reinforce that right 90 wall. It prevents a really long angle from CC all the way into the archives door. The left one, you can arguably reinforce. It's not as important of an angle because they have changed the metal detector. At best, it's a very shallow angle that you don't really have to worry about too much. If you want to be mindful of that, just make sure that you put a shield between the metal door and metal detector itself, so you can kind of cross crouched if you need to. But again, you don't want to give up that shield and armory, so just make sure that if you do that, you have 2 shields, or you just have to be careful with your rotates. So this is a demonstration of where the shield should be placed. As you can see, if you crouch through, you can't really see the enemies. And now you can see that there are shotgun holes on these 2 soft walls. So this allows C4 smoke denial from behind cover. Basically, it ensures that if someone's pushing site, you can sit behind these metal half walls and just chuck your utility over without being shot. So this is mostly reserved for smoke or C4, but if you really felt crazy, you could probably throw impacts through there too, get all the way back to the A-bomb. Alright, now moving on to archives. So you want to reinforce the 2 fountain walls on top metal. These walls provide a super stupid angle from 90 from top metal and from CC if they open up that wall too. In addition, this protects the one person playing in fountain. So because fountain was recently extended, you can hide super tucked behind fountain. So if you prone there with a shotgun or even, let's say, Jaeger's 416C, you're gonna have to go in very, very far before you can even see the defender. As you can see, he's pretty much invisible until I'm almost at the door. Just keep in mind that your legs have to be behind you. And the addition of 1 more hard wall on the other side of fountain means that you have extra cover. So you want to reinforce this 1 wall in top square, just because it provides a long angle from that new balcony that they added. And then you want to reinforce these 2 walls here and this single wall. So this single wall really heavily favors attackers because there is a rappel right outside behind it. So you don't want to give attackers with the 1.5s and the 2x's and the 2.5s even holding that long angle. So it's better just reinforce it, and keep in mind that there still is that breakable gap on top. So nades can be chucked through. I would recommend placing an ADS here in this corner. That way you'll catch any utility coming in from above those walls. And the thing about this site is that that angle on top of the bookshelf has been more or less removed. You can still sit there if you want a little bit of a more surprising angle, but it's not really an important piece of the hold anymore. What is more important on this site now is having 2 operators have wall denial. So before, a bandit would be fine because you really only had the 2 armory walls and then 2 archives walls that you had to cover. Now you have a lot more that you need to cover. You have a minimum of 5 walls. So I would recommend a Cade and a Mute here. That seems to be strongest. But Cade and Bandit work, or Mute and Bandit. But I feel like having a Cade is more often than not going to be beneficial. Top of this, having a Mute is extra strong, especially if Flora is in play. So keep that in mind when you're crafting your team comps. So in general, this entire bomb site was spread out pretty extensively. So you typically want to have one person small office, one half wall. Then you can have one person fountain, one person archives, and then you can have one person offsite. Or you can stack another person inside of armory ready to rotate over if need be. This person can contest 90, but more often than not, you want to have that roam just in case they bring a buck below, or if there's a chance for C4ing the plant. So the role of the person in fountain is to prevent office take. Their job isn't to soak up utility, it's more to just contest a straight rush into fountain. The person archives can hold a pretty nice cross with them very easily. The player in small office is typically going to be your smoke or your plant denial of some sort, because they're provided with probably the safest, most bunker-like area to sit on cams, play with shotgun, toss smokes, etc. And if need be, you can rotate over to those metal half walls and chuck your smokes over, chuck your nitros over, whatever it is, because small office is kind of the central point between the two sites. Then the person half wall you want on the either higher magnification scopes or the higher powered guns. So this would be a good spot for your Doc, your Rook, your Cade to be playing. Because more often than not, when the walls open up, you have a long angle to contest with attackers who have assault rifles with much higher magnification scopes. So if you want to contest that, you better be prepared. Now, I've played quite a few games of ranked on this map, and I can say that most people still will go for a armory push just because it's what they're used to. But in my personal experience, pushing office is actually much stronger just because of how the site's been extended in archives. And those 3 walls are really hard to keep closed. A lot of people will either neglect one of the walls or they'll just not have enough utility protecting. And one more thing I'd like to mention is that triple wall isn't something you have to reinforce anymore. It used to be pretty critical for the site setup in Armory, but now that the triple wall doesn't actually lead outside, you don't necessarily need to have it covered. Okay, here's a super quick rundown. So you reinforce both armory walls, you reinforce one small office wall, make footholds next to it. You put a shield slightly behind the armory locker right here. You can put a second shield on metal door, slightly offset so that you can still walk through it. You want to reinforce that right 90 wall, then you make shotgun holes on top of the archive walls here and here. Then you want to reinforce the 2 right fountain walls. You want to reinforce the 3 archives walls, the 1 single wall facing the window, and then the 2 leftmost walls to the left of the door. Finally, you want to reinforce the 1 single wall straight out of office door. Preferred ops are Jaeger, 2 forms of breach denial. This could be Mute, Bandit, or Cade, any combination of the 3. You could choose 2 out of the 3 that you prefer. And then you're going to want to have 1 plant denial playing in small office, such as a smoke or an echo. And finally, you can have 1 roamer or an intel op like Valkyrie. Alright, now we're moving on to our second site, Events Workshop. So the biggest change is that, again, basically the entire map has been extended. So now you want to reinforce these 2 middle events to workshop walls. Before it would be just 1, and then you would have head holes on 1 for throwing smokes through. But now what you want to do is you want to reinforce the middle 2. So here I'll show you that angle that you can get if you don't reinforce both of these walls. And it really makes defending a nightmare if you don't reinforce those. So you make your standard rotate here, you can make your crouch height or run through height, doesn't really matter too much. You want to make holes here for the smoke or the C4 or whatever sort of plant denial you want. You can really effectively smoke off the entire site just from this angle right here. You want to put your shield down on vent's door, put on your 2 ADSs. You want to make sure that your shield is back just far enough so that attackers cannot run through. Vaulting through makes a very loud, very noticeable audio cue, and you want to make sure that that's forced if someone's trying to rush site. So next, you want to reinforce these back 4 workshop walls. Now this is a change from how it was before because bathroom is so much bigger and harder to hold now that I don't think it's really worth having that rotate anymore. Then you want to reinforce that archives hatch. This makes workshop very easy to hold. You don't have to worry about a teller's push as much, and any angles from square are really negated by the amount of cover you have in the room. You have this desk right here, you have this box on the bomb, and you have the workshop table. So any angles that get opened up on that soft wall really won't affect you too much. You have a lot of places to sit regardless. Next, reinforce the supply wall. I'll show you the angle here. I've gotten a lot of kills off of this, and I'd recommend always reinforcing that wall. So now moving on to the upstairs hold. you want to open up the small office hatch and reinforce these 2 armory walls. Basically, you want to stick 2 or 3 people up here and make sure they can deny the vertical take. So if attackers get to take vertically, it'll be almost impossible to hold the actual site. The entire floor is more or less destructible, so if that gets opened up by a sledge or a buck, you're pretty much done for. Now you want to make some shotgun holes to help the people holding inside. So this shotgun hole watches vent's window in case they jump in. This shotgun hole is for vent's door. And finally, this shotgun hole will cover the default plant. So basically, the people holding upstairs are holding the attackers pushing upstairs, and they're also watching out for vent's take. This way, the people with the plant out don't really need to expose themselves or challenge any angles until the plant starts to go down. Again, typically you want to have 2 people, maybe 3 people playing downstairs, and then 2 or 3 depending on how hard they push above. And you're going to be dealing with 3 pushes more often than not. The first push is a vertical push. This means they're going to try to take armory and then open up holes above, and the default plant on an above take is going to be 1 on vent's window, 1 on main door, and then 1 person planning, 1 person holding above. This is super hard to retake because of the amount of angles you have to watch, which is why you want to be holding upstairs. 2 is a customs take, which is less of a strat and more of a rush. You basically try to run in through any doors you can and get frags on the people in sight, ignoring the people above. This is why you place the shield on the vents door, and you want to have somebody watching in workshop. The final least common push is through tellers and bathroom. So if they get the wall open and they take upstairs control, they can get control of archives hatch, and they can get pretty nice angles all the way through workshop. This is really uncommon, but it's also easy to counter by just having an upstairs presence, because again, the entire floor is destructible, so if they try to take, you can always just open up and kill the planter. For a quick rundown on vents workshop, you're going to reinforce your middle 2 vents walls. You're going to make a shotgun rotate hole. You're going to make shotgun smoke holes on the top right. You're going to place a shield slightly behind the workshop door. You're going to reinforce the bottom supply wall. You're going to reinforce your 4 workshop walls, your archives hatch, and your 2 external armory walls. You're going to open up that small office hatch. You're going to play 2 people above, 3 people below, or if they're especially aggressive on the upstairs take, 3 people above, 2 below. You can make shotgun holes here, here, and here to watch vents. This way, if you're playing above, you can help out your teammates on site. Alright, moving on to the last 2 sites. They're pretty interchangeable and it's really personal preference, in my opinion. But we'll start with bathroom tellers. So first off, you want to reinforce all 4 of those walls into workshop. So just like with events workshop hold, you're going to reinforce that. What you want to do is you want to actually open this hatch. You want to make holes on the top of the right wall here and a rotate hole here. So you're going to have 1 person in bathroom holding that window, and I'll show you why that hatch is open later. So you want to reinforce these 2 walls in square, just because they provide long angles in passport and it lets you sit in a corner. You want to reinforce these 2 walls looking into customs, because this cuts off angles from customs and from supply. You can make a rotate on this last wall, and then if you place the shield like so, you get a super powerful angle to contest this sort of central hallway. So you can contest window, you can contest bottom metal, customs, PC, and even square. When you're placing it, place a little bit back so it's just on top of that mat there on the ground. And if you stand all the way to the right, you cannot be seen from that balcony, but if you move a little bit to the left, your feet can get shot. Now coming upstairs, again reinforce this wall on top square. This again cuts off the balcony angle, and ultimately you're going to be playing up here anyways. So you can reinforce this wall next to triple. Your goal upstairs is to maintain control of the hatch that you've opened, because this hatch lets you control all of bathroom and the window. So if you're on 2 people upstairs, you can have 1 person playing here in that corner. It's a super deep angle, so when you're playing with a shotgun, you'll have a pretty big advantage. And if you're holding from this hatch, even if they open up workshop and get into bathroom, you can shoot the planter anywhere in bathroom. Now you can see this beam that signifies the end of bathroom and the start of workshop. So if you need to open up a hole above the planter, just use that as a frame of reference. And if you and a teammate are holding above, you're going to be able to hold down all of bathroom, and then you basically just want to leave your plant denial or whoever's anchoring in sight in tellers itself. Because once you're in tellers, there are many safe spots to sit. They don't have to worry about window. Really, in tellers, all I have to worry about is a push from square. So ideally, you can run 2 people upstairs, which would be one person on the hatch, one person on the office double door. You can run one person on the shield, and then you can either put 2 people in tellers, 1 in each corner, or you could put 1 person in bathroom, 1 person in tellers. This way, your 1 anchor inside of tellers is just holding down sight, waiting for an execute. Your 1 player on the shield is going to be contesting the central hallway and making sure that no one just pushes through into that bathroom hallway. 1 person above is watching the push from office door. 1 person is watching bathroom and the tellers window. And the last person's in a really flexible position where they can walk around based on where the attackers are pushing. Alright, so for a quick rundown of bathroom tellers, you want to reinforce all 4 of the workshop walls. You want to reinforce the 2 tellers to square walls. You want to reinforce the 2 leftmost walls looking at customs. You want to open up the hatch, rotate next to the window, and shotgun holes on the top of the wall next to the rotate. Then you can make a rotate on that final unreinforced tellers wall. Place a shield right on this mat. You'll have 1 person playing on the shield. For upstairs, you want to reinforce top square and also the wall right next to triple. 1 in bathroom, 1 in tellers, and 2 holding above. Alright, so for the final bomb site, which is custom supply, you want to reinforce right away these 4 supply walls. These prevent long angles from tellers and from metal. You want to make a rotate next to that. You want to reinforce this right wall coming into detention. You could open up either head holes or like this full rotate here that you can chuck smokes over or contest the window from. 1 reinforcement on the detention wall is extremely important as it prevents a deep angle into customs. Detention, obviously reinforce the exterior walls like I said before. Passport only has 2 walls now, so you want to reinforce both of those. You want to put your breach on those 2 walls and the detention walls. You want to reinforce this hatch up in CC, and you can place a shield right here in customs. This allows you to contest PC and any push from square really well. It gives you a lot of cover, and especially when the hatch is reinforced, you're going to be really safe playing here. You have some nice angles, you can change it up, and you're not going to be trapped anywhere. Now moving upstairs, this is optional, but personally I'm a big proponent of opening up that small office hatch and playing above. You can make a rotate that lets you slip into 90 if there's too much pressure, and if you are holding above, say with a castle, you're able to open up holes here and you're able to see the entirety of B side. So if there's any plant going down, you're gonna be able to see it. Keep in mind this also works for attackers if they do take upstairs control, so just be wary when you're holding inside of supply itself. On top of this, there's actually an angle onto detention wall now. The only thing is that CC is a little bit harder to hold. You might need 2 people there dedicated to it because of that extra line of sight in the balcony. But essentially, you're going to be holding 1 person detention, 1 person on the shield and customs. You can have 2 people roaming above, and then 1 more person can be playing either in supply or in small office. Since this is a 3rd or even 4th site, you're not going to really necessarily need a specific team comp. I think it's always safe to bring a smoke, a Cade, a Jaeger, and then you can complement that with whoever you want. Most of the time, you know, Valk, Mozzie, Mute, something like that is good. So for the quick rundown, you want to reinforce 1 CC hatch, pop open the small office one. You want to reinforce both the detention walls, both passport walls, all 4 of the supply walls, the detention single door wall. You want to make a rotate on the last supply wall that you didn't reinforce. You want to make head holes or an actual rotate on the other detention wall. And if you're opening up that small office hatch, then you make a rotate out into 90. Please keep in mind that Siege is a super dynamic game. There's no one perfect defense for every site, every push. This is a good baseline. This won't be your end all be all, but it's definitely a good starting place if you don't know where to start with this new map especially. If you found this video helpful, subscribe. It takes a lot of effort to make these kind of videos, and it lets me know that people want to watch more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.